Oh, God, this is too much, isn't it? The coffee, the texts, the compliments. I'm sorry, you asked to be friends, and I should be respecting that, but instead I've been overstepping all day.
No, not at all. It's fine. That's actually why I'm here. I made a mistake last week.
Okay, so there is an old ancient saying that is at this point as aging as the sun, and it's used far too much these days, but it's probably the best analogy to use. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And oh boy, does Supergirl fit this trope. And it's tiring. I recall as a child, every holiday, whether it was Easter or Christmas, even just a random bank holiday, an old James Bond film would strike up on the TV, and my father and brothers would sit around the box to watch Sean Connery or Roger Moore go all secret agent, and as the odd one out, I had to watch it too. When you're the only girl in a house of men, you get voted down a lot. Trust me. And if you're the only guy in a house of women, likewise happens then. This is just the law of an undemocratic, gender-based household, I'm afraid. Those of us who are victims of this know the true pain. The debonair Bond would eye his beautiful prey and set his sights for victory. She'd declare herself uninterested and reject him, but Mr. Bond was not deterred. He'd coax and wear her down until she'd eventually said yes, and Bond earned his sexual encounter with the woman who didn't want him. But she didn't have a choice. Those films from the 60s and 70s seemed strange to my young self as I watched in the 90s. For myself, I began to understand earlier in life what force was. Someone close to me was a victim of a sexual attack and when finally brought to justice, the perpetrator had all these lines to cover his crime against that someone close to me and the other young boys he attacked. But I watched these scenes and felt uncomfortable. Why was one not enough? Now, having grown up and studied the writer Ian Fleming, I have learned this is how he thought of women. He had very little regard for them other than sexual things he could control. They just existed for his pleasure and his pleasure alone, which is exactly what James Bond of the 60s and the 70s was. This was how Ian Fleming wrote his books. And having learned of the times when women were very much pawns to be moved about and controlled, told how they felt, it seems natural that depictions on TV and film would reflect this trend despite the feminist movement trying to free themselves from this grotesque belief. So, as Bond, it was like a tradition it seemed Superman would come on. ITV would give that gross villain Bond, but the BBC would come to my rescue with Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder. It was like a breath of fresh air. Clark was so different to James Bond. He was actually respectful to Lois, and Lois was allowed to go and do things on her own. Of course, sometimes Clark had to save her, but that's obvious. Lois is never going to not be a nosy reporter. She's going to get herself into an insane amount of trouble that always requires Clark to rescue her because, this is the way it is. But the first Superman movie was released in 1978. Why didn't that hold the same themes as Bond? Where was Clark pestering and forcing Lois, guilt-tripping her into sex and a date? This always puzzled me, but as a result, Bond is not for me. But it was never written for me, so I have no interest even when the franchise moved forward in the 90s with Pierce Brosnan and more recently Daniel Craig. The spectre of the distaste I held for it as a child, watching what was thought of and expected of women, and indeed myself as I grew up, soured me to it. I can say with all honesty I have never watched a Bond movie since I was 9 or 10 years old, and to be honest, even in the film where Eva Green was in, I gave it a miss, and if you know me, you know I adore her. So why does Supergirl, a show that shouts from the rooftops, like a town crier with no ability and desire for cultivating an indoor voice, and who has a very big work ethic, constantly using this method for their female characters. Supposedly empowered female characters too. Okay, so let's look at Kara as a character now. I know there are those who disagree, and to be frank, I don't care. This is my opinion, and it is no less valid than yours. But Kara has always had a disinterest in men in general. The only time we hear her ever talk about a man is when another bland, boring love interest comes her way, and suddenly she's had these feelings that she's never had before, even though she really hasn't had these feelings at all. And this is consistently true. Her character gets sidetracked when she is stuck with a love interest. When she is alone and her storyline doesn't include a man, she thrives. That is why in season 4 she was doing so well, there was no love interest for her. Now we return to season 2, and I hate it here. I'm puzzled. Why in 2020 would Supergirl be using this as a way to show us actual romance when they claim to be a feminist show? Now, I may be triggering some people when I say this, but I'm not a feminist. I used to be one a long time ago, but I don't follow this belief my own reasons. I believe in equality, and white feminism isn't something that I adhere to. The rhetoric that Supergirl uses is dangerous for both men and women. It peddles the idea that if you ask enough times, if you pester and do stupidly average romantic gestures, like remembering what damn coffee a woman likes. For fuck's sake, I know what a lot of people's favorite coffee is. It doesn't make that a romantic gesture on my part. It means I have a good memory and use it. It pushes the belief that a woman doesn't know her own mind, that a man needs to tell her, to remind her what she wants, what she needs. And I watch this in Supergirl and get that same ill ease as I did watching Bond as a child, feeling ashamed to be a woman because my opinions and decisions would never be respected. With younger viewers watching, what the hell kind of message does this send? Those Bond movies aren't on as much anymore. I haven't seen them in the TV guide for a long while, at least, but what difference does it make when Supergirl can wheel out the same message in 2020 under the guise of feminism and empowerment for women? A woman is not a task to accomplish. Fail once and you keep trying until you achieve the final goal. A woman is a human being, and I can give you some advice from someone who has been shot down and rejected by women more times than I can count. Ask her once. If she says no, well, it sucks. It's going to suck. And it's going to hurt depending on how strong your feelings are. But there is nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing. Then it is up to you about how much you respect that woman, because you have to have very little respect for her to think you know her better than she knows herself, and you just need to keep going to get her to change her mind. And to be honest, why did you like her in the first place? You're not living in a Robin Thicke song here. This is real life, and a woman says no for a reason. It means she doesn't want you. And as I said, that sucks. But there is nothing you can do. You have to respect her decision and move on. No romantic gestures, no matter how small or big, are warranted because she doesn't see you that way. The show did this with Monel. They did this with James and Lena. It happened to Lena twice. Once before she began dating James, and another when she broke up with him. But Kara told her to get back with him, and even though both times she didn't want to, she did. Jeez, the creators of Supergirl need to take a class on consent, right? This is a show who had to fire one of its producers because he didn't respect boundaries and thought he could use his power to sexually harass women. This is the same guy who introduced us to Mono, and we all know how that worked out. So, I have one question. What the hell is Supergirl doing? Teaching this to younger viewers who are impressionable, misleading men who think They can do this and get the girl they want because how can it be disrespectful when a feminist TV show displays it and the empowered lead seems kinda happy to be told by everyone she's into this one dude who can't take no for an answer. Also, I've been on the rejected by a woman I like side. Hell, yeah, I've been there a lot, but let's not go into that. I've also been on the side where someone can't take no from me. And being chased isn't fun, it's tiring and belittling, makes you second guess yourself and puts you in a place where you feel awkward. That person who willingly does that to soothe their ego is not a good person. Doesn't be going to the gym and doing boxing as a workout. I built up quite a bit of muscle, and I've come into a world that I never knew existed, where some guys find that insanely attractive. The irony is I get more attention from straight guys than gay women these days, so thanks for that, fate. I have to love you. So I encounter this often, and it's all to be objectified, not actually liked for anything else. In Supergirl, William doesn't know Kara. Kara doesn't know William. It was one very awkward scene with a stapler, but that was awkward because it was damn wooden and just plain cumbersome. Why can't Supergirl write Kara a love interest, if she must have one, in a realistic way that doesn't need this rhetoric where 50 no's means yes, and everyone around her all say she should do it because they have so much chemistry even though she feels nothing. Showing and not telling is how we tell stories as creators. If we as an audience and a character needs to be told something, and the odds are it doesn't exist, and much like William trying to wear Kara down, the show does that to us. They hope if they wear us down enough, we'll give in and agree, and say yes, and we'll all fall in love again. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I said I watch Supergirl and get uneasy. I find it unenjoyable. The characters I love are barely used, and bland, mediocre characters are overused, stealing the space of others. Why does William exist when we have Nia to do this job? He has no reason to be there except for being Kara's love interest. And this has been true since he first arrived. At this point, I'm past caring about the feelings of fragile egos of actors who see themselves as important and godlike. I'm tired of the opinions of viewers being disregarded and demeaned. I want to see women being empowered. Why is this so hard to achieve? Legends of Tomorrow does it, The Flash does it, Arrow did it, hell, even Batwoman is doing better than Supergirl. And I'm not a Batwoman fan. This show, I love Batwoman otherwise. I don't want to go back to that feeling when I was a child, wishing I was like my brothers because they could do things I couldn't. I feel like I've moved away from that belief. It makes me sad that young girls are watching this and having that same feeling now. My brothers and I watched Xena together and watched her totally kick ass, and they loved her just as much as they loved Hercules. So they aren't making Kara lesser for men. Because while some men enjoy watching women suffer and be weak, not all men do this. I have stated I have found a very strange world where there are men who really enjoy strong women. I've told you these are the dudes I attract now. It's my life now. I'm not bitter about it. No, I'm not bitter about it. Not at all. During this whole unpleasantness, I go and rewatch some Winona Earp, a foul-mouthed badass screw-up with a hidden heart of gold who kicks ass and takes no prisoners and loves her sister more than her own life. I'm pretty sure 100% she'd never let Waverly date someone she did not want to. In fact, she'd probably take Peacemaker and go take a visit to the dude who just can't take no for an answer. But, I had a fun Supergirl video planned, so thanks for that. I have fun planned and then Supergirl just ruins it, just ruins my life. Hate it here. I will do that again. It's just a funny character bio, like a sarcastic "this is your life" I'm starting, with the characters from the Arrowverse. I'm beginning with Lena, but I had to do this because, well, it was obvious. And this needs to be said, apparently again, and again, and again. And it will be needed to be said again. Supergirl sucks. I'm wondering where Supergirl will go next. Even if Kara and William only have one date, to be honest, the damage is done. They continue to throw up below par content, and this is mostly due to the fact they have too big a cast and keep adding more to it, thereby neglecting regular established characters. Lex should have left a long time ago and now just sucks up screen time. The continued prolonging of the rift between Kara and Lena is only fueling his stay, because the moment Lena and Kara get back together, forgive my terminology, but you know what I mean, Lex is brown bread. He is yesterday's news. So we need to keep them apart, which just forces this stupid, illogical storyline that makes no damn sense and makes us believe Lena, who distrusts everyone, especially her own family, is siding with Lex Luthor? The dude who tried to kill her multiple times and who enjoyed, even as he died, goading her and maliciously distorting the truth of Kara's identity. Also, isn't it weird he had that tape just handy? Just for that moment. The convenience. This should have been sorted already, a line drawn, and that's it. This constant "will Lena be bad" shit is boring. Brainy is from the future. Hal Wynn came back from the future and sucked up more screen time. Don't you think one would have said by now, hey, watch out for that Lena chick. She's gonna go all full-on evil. No. Instead, Brainy befriends her. Also, can I have more Brainy and Lena scenes, please? Because is it okay to ship them? Because they're kinda hella cute. Anyway, it's not always a popular opinion. I've discovered. In a little known part of history, there was an action called bride kidnapping. It occurred in all parts of the world, and in Ireland it started during the invasion of the Normans, and it remained popular until the 1800s, where a man would go and steal whatever woman he wanted, whether she was into it or not. Mostly she was not. The man could have asked her to dance and she'd have said no. He could have asked her if she was interested and she would have said no. He could even have gone to her father and asked for her hand in marriage, and he would have said no. But that didn't stop the entitlement, because women never know their own minds. We are weak, timid creatures with emotions that overrule our heads, and we need a man's firm hand to guide us in the right direction. So he would simply abduct her and force her to marry him, then she was his by law. This is truth, by the way. You can look it up. Maybe a little idea for a future storyline for Supergirl, because, you know, you haven't gone gross enough yet and crossed the line. Just bring on a character even more disgusting than Mon-El, and next season Kara can dump Chilly Willy and get abducted by some cosmic pirate and made to marry him, and by some twisted fate they fall in love. Oh, I can see it now. They'd even get Alex to say how much in love with her he appears when he looks at her. And that everyone is perfect, such a sweet tale. Hell, to make things worse, they'll probably make the psychiatrist agree. You know, when they let her have a line and she's not needed, so bye-bye, Kelly. And you know, how would they play that scene if Kara ever found herself walking up the aisle, standing next to the next random pointless loser they've put her with? That point where the priest asks her if she takes this man, what does she do? Kara looks back at the congregation and they all shout, en masse, I do. This is what I'm imagining. And the scary thing is, they do it and pass it off as a comedic moment. Give me strength with these people. The most distasteful thing was they aired this on International Women's Day and proudly proclaimed it was just that. I mean, the level of delusion is high in these creators. The level of delusion is high in the creators of the show, and the level of self-awareness is extremely low. In all truthfulness, I'd be quite ashamed to say I work on this show. Oftentimes, it is only the acting from the cast that saves it from being utterly farcical. My next Supergirl video will be a step-by-step demonstration for dummies of how to write a budding romance and how to build chemistry and a believable story arc. Because at this point, they need it very badly. But you know, what I will close on, throw in some shade. They know how to do this. They have written it from season 2 with Lena and Kara. Yeah, Supergirl, we see you. You are not clever with your queer baiting. And finally, before I depart the lunacy that is Supergirl, for fuck's sake, give Danson some damn screen time. I'm over here needing some freaking cuteness only they can deliver. And not just a 5-second limit that is more fitting to brief acquaintances as they meet on the street. Coincidentally, I saw Alex kiss a random woman on the street in the last episode. Does Kelly know about this? Wait, was that Kelly? Oh, sorry, I see her so little I forgot what she looked like. Can we get some Kelly time, please? I'd like to know who she is. I feel like we know very little. Or you could give me more William. Up to you. I know which is more fun, but okay. Or, visit my Lena and Brainy idea. Just saying, don't come for me, they'd be cute is all I'm saying. And they have so much in common. Think about it at least. But you know that saying, if you stick a bunch of chimps in a room with typewriters, eventually they will write a masterpiece. Can we get them to the Supergirl writer's room, please? They need a hell of a lot of help. But the sad thing is, it's too late. That is the frustrating thing above all else. This show will go down in the archives of TV history as having had so much potential, but they wasted it and enjoyed doing so. Yet took the faux applause they got from their bought awards. Because sorry, at this point, how else do they get the accolades? They could have done so much, and yet they were content to do so little and peddle garbage instead of greatness. Your viewers are not like how you write Kara. They won't suddenly be worn down and agree you're amazing. This isn't something that happens in anywhere but the fiction of a CW show. And I'm tired. What's worse is you cover it up with smiles and talk of female empowerment, when in reality you have no idea what that actually means. Someone buy the Supergirl creators a dictionary and explain to them. Maybe someone splash out and try them with some Simone de Beauvoir. Or save your money. At this point, I really don't care.